Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a little baby girl was born to a beautiful queen. A little girl whose hair was black as raven's wings, whose lips and cheeks were rosy red, and whose skin was so fair that the queen, upon first seeing her, said,
"Let her be called Snow White."
Unhappily, the queen died soon after she named Snow White. And a little over a year later, the king married again. He married a very beautiful queen this time, too. But this queen was very different in character. In spite of her beauty, she was very proud and self-centered, haughty and vain. She had but one wish, and that was to be more beautiful than any other woman in the kingdom. She had a magic mirror which hung upon her bedroom wall, and many times a day she would look into it and say,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?"
And the mirror would reply,
"O Queen, who does before me stand, thou art the fairest in the land."
Ah, thank you, sweet mirror. I know I am the loveliest, for thou speakest the truth always.
The years passed, and Snow White flowered into a beautiful little girl whose skin was fair, whose lips and cheeks were ever so rosy, and whose hair was deep, deep black as raven's wings. One day the queen chanced to look into her magic mirror. As she did so, she asked, as always,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?"
But this time the queen was startled by an unusual reply. The mirror answered,
"Queen, thou art indeed most fair, but Snow White with her raven's hair is many, many times more fair."
No. No, it cannot be. It must not be. I must be fairest in the land. I will have no one more beautiful than I. I hate her. I hate her, I hate her, I hate her!
And hate and jealousy grew in the queen like ugly vines, twisting themselves within her till they quite overpowered all her reason, and until there was nothing but a wilderness of jealousy and hate inside her. As long as Snow White remained in the land, the queen knew she could not be the most beautiful creature in the kingdom. There was hate and jealousy filled her. Finally, she could stand it no longer. She called in the chief of her royal hunters.
"Huntsman,
"Yes, Your Majesty."
I want you to take Snow White into the woods."
"To hunt with her, Your Highness? She is so young."
"I do not want you to hunt with her, fool. I want you to lose her."
"Lose her, Your Majesty?"
You heard me? Lose her. Leave her deep in the woods so that she can never find her way back.
"But Your Highness, so small and lovely a child, she might die alone in the woods."
You have heard me, huntsman. I never want to know of her again. Now go."
"Yes, Your Majesty."
Where are we going, dear huntsman?
"Into the woods, dear child."
For what are we going to hunt, sir?
"For my heart, my very heart."
But you carry your heart with you, sir.
Sometimes one must nonetheless hunt for it, dear child. All my life, I fear, I will have to hunt for it.
I don't understand.
I'm afraid you will, soon enough.
You speak in riddles.
Come, child, you ask too much.
Will it be long before we arrive wherever we are going?
No, Snow White. We are here now,
Where?
where we are going.
But there is nothing here. Nothing that is but trees. A forest of heavy trees. So heavy, the sun can't peek through. What a wonderful place for a game of hide-and-go-seek. May we play, sir?
Are you sure you wish to?
Yes, it will be such fun.
Very well. I'll hide my eyes. You hide yourself.
I'm leaving now. Stop.
1, 2. Snow White! Snow White, wait! Come back!
Yes? What is it?
I just forgot. I just wanted to... Here. Let me look at you once more, child. I want to be sure that I recognize you when I hunt for you.
I'm sure you'll know me as well as you know your own heart.
Yes, of course.
Start counting again. I'm leaving.
Very well. 1, 2, 3. Snow White? Snow White? Wait, come back!
I'm too far away to return now. Keep counting. You've not reached 10 yet. Well, I'll be so well hidden, you'll never ever find me.
No, Snow White, don't hide so well. 4, 5, 6. Snow White.
Keep counting, good huntsman.
7, 8, 9. Ready?
You'll never find me.
That's what I fear. Never. 10.
When the huntsman counted 10, he turned and walked sadly out of the forest, in a direction opposite to that which he obeyed the queen's order in spite of himself, and so condemned himself forever to hunt for his heart. As he walked out of the forest, he tried not to hear the voice of Snow White as she called from farther and farther away.
Where are you, dear huntsman? Why do you not find me? Where are you, huntsman? Come find me now. I don't want to play this game anymore. Please find me. Find me. Find me. Or I shall be lost forever.
But the huntsman was gone, and now Snow White grew afraid, and she began to run. She, rather than coming closer to the edge of the forest and nearer to home, deeper and deeper into the woods. Through thickets and brambles, brush, she scrambled, running all day long through the woods, and then over 7 high hills. Though she ran by many animals along the way, none did harm to her. And finally, just as the sun was setting behind the 7th hill, Snow White came upon a little house in a quiet little clearing surrounded by a grove of walnut trees. Snow White went up to the cottage. The door stood open.
Oh, my. How nice this little cottage looks.
Snow White called out, but no one answered. Hesitatingly, she entered the little cottage. How surprised and delighted she was to see how very clean and neat everything was. And best of all, how tiny everything was. Everything had the charm that all small things generally have. There was a long table, and on its white tablecloth were 7 tiny knives and forks and spoons and 7 tiny silver cups. By each place were 7 small chairs, and in a far corner of the room were 7 tiny beds, each made up and as inviting as a mother's smile.
Oh, how cozy and wonderful. I'm so hungry and so thirsty from all that running. I'm sure the owners won't mind if I just have a little bread and meat from each plate, and a little milk from each cup.
And Snow White helped herself daintily to what was on the table. Then she was so tired she tumbled into one of the tiny beds, curled up, and fell fast asleep. When darkness settled on the land, the owners of the little house returned home, all 7 of them. They were the littlest owners of anything you ever did see. 7 little men they were, no higher than a doorknob is from the floor. They varied in their shapes, but each of them had a little beard of some kind, and each wore a little pointed cap with a tassel dangling from the end. 7 little dwarfs, all of whom worked in the hills all day, digging for gold and precious gems. As they came into their house, trudging one behind the other, carrying their picks and shovels, they immediately got the feeling that somehow things were different from the way they had left them that morning. They lit their little work lamps, each one of them, and they looked around.
Who's been sitting at my plate?
Who's been eating from my bread?
Who's been using my napkin?
Who's been cutting with my knife?
Who's been eating with my fork?
Who's been tasting with my spoon?
Who's been drinking with my cup?
Look in this bed.
A little girl.
Such black hair. Such rosy cheeks. Oh. How beautiful she is.
Let her sleep.
Yes, let her sleep.
Let her sleep. Let her sleep.
Let her sleep. Let her sleep.
So the little dwarfs let Snow White sleep the night through. When she awoke in the morning and saw the 7 little men tiptoeing around the room, she became frightened. But as soon as they saw that she was awake, they all smiled in so friendly a way that Snow White knew they would not harm her, and she smiled back at them. They said,
What is your name, child?
I am called Snow White.
How did you come here?
Snow White told the little men her story, and they all said, and then one after the other they said,
Stay with us, Snow White.
Cook for us.
Clean for us.
So this is what Snow White did. She kept house for the 7 dwarfs. Each day they would go off to dig in the hills, and when they returned, they found a spotless little house, and their clothes all clean, and their food all set out for them. They were all very happy together. But the little men were worried about one thing. Each morning, before they left for their work, they would say to Snow White,
We don't trust the queen, Snow White.
She's sure to find out where you are.
We're afraid she may come to do you harm.
Please, Snow White, let no one in the house while we're away.
Don't even open up the door.
Always keep it locked.
Please, dear Snow White, promise.
I will. I promise you I will keep the door locked.
Oh, how right the dwarfs were. In the royal palace one day, the queen stood before her magic mirror.
Mirror, mirror on my wall, who's the fairest of them all?
O Queen, thou art beyond compare, but one there is who is more fair. With 7 little men residing, seek her out, for there she's hiding.
No, Snow White still lives? I thought she was forever lost. I will not have it. I must rid myself of her once and for all.
So the wicked queen devised a plan. She dressed up like an old peddler woman, carrying a basket of fruit and vegetables. Then she mixed a poisonous potion and inserted it into an apple. She put it into the basket with the other good apples and went on her way. She traveled over the 7 hills to the house of the 7 dwarfs. When she got there, she knocked at the little door and disguised her voice.
Fine plums and apples, good vegetables for sale, beans and sprouts and fine green peas. Oh, hello, little girl. I thought the door would open, but there you are, peeking out the window. If you'll only open the door, I'll show you all my wares.
Surely there can be no harm in letting so honest-looking an old lady into the house. Besides, you do have such beautiful fruits and vegetables, which we need. One moment, and I'll let you in. Here now, won't you come in, dear lady?
Thank you, my dear.
I would like to buy some green peas, and perhaps some plums.
Certainly, my dear. And wouldn't you like some nice red apples? They're the finest of the crop.
No, I don't believe so. Perhaps some purple grapes?
Grapes, of course, my dear. But look, see how rosy and shiny my apples are. Won't you take a pound or 2?
They do look very nice.
Yes.
But perhaps another day.
Another day I may not come. Here, take this one as a gift from me. You're such a pretty little girl. Here.
I really shouldn't.
Oh, nonsense. Take a bite and see how cool and how crisp it is.
You're very kind, thank you. I'll take a small bite and save the rest for later.
Yes, just one bite. That's all you'll need to see how good it is. Take it, child.
Oh, thank you. This is good.
Yes.
Wonderful. Really.
So, lie there, you who are supposedly more fair than I. Now I am the most beautiful of all.
Now, when the queen returned to her castle, she went immediately into her chamber and questioned her magic mirror.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
O queen, who does before me stand? Thou art the fairest in the land.
And now the queen was satisfied. But while she primped and preened before her mirror, admiring herself, the dwarfs returned to their cottage after their day's work. When they opened the door and saw their beloved Snow White lying unconscious on the floor, they gathered her up in their arms and placed her on her bed. She lay very still. The dwarfs did all they could to revive her, but nothing would bring her back to life. And they all began to weep.
She's gone.
Our lovely Snow White's gone.
Who could have done it? The queen.
Yes, the wicked queen.
How could she do such a thing?
She's jealous.
For 3 days, the 7 little dwarfs cried, but their weeping did not revive Snow White. She lay still without breathing under the poisonous spell. And yet she looked beautiful and full of health. Still the dwarfs kept watch over her. The days passed into weeks, the weeks into months, and the months into years. And all the while Snow White lay as if in sleep upon the bed in the cottage of the dwarfs. And the dwarfs kept constant guard over her, for they had faith that one day somehow she would awaken. And indeed, at this very time there came wandering through the land one who had the power to wake the lovely maiden from her sleep. A prince traveling from a nearby kingdom stopped at the dwarf's cottage to ask directions, as he was on his way to see the king and queen to pay a royal visit. Through the door of the cottage he spied the sleeping form of Snow White. So drawn was he by her great beauty that he paused before leaving the cottage. He said to the dwarfs,
Who's that lovely maiden, little men?
She's called Snow White.
Pray, what ails her?
and the dwarfs told the prince what had happened, whereupon the prince asked if he might see Snow White more closely. The dwarfs bade him enter the cottage. He came and stood by Snow White's bed. As the handsome young prince looked at the beautiful princess, a feeling of love rushed over him, and he wept openly to see such beauty lying so still. His tears streamed down his handsome face and fell upon the face of the princess. And lo and behold, the moment the tears touched her cheeks, Snow White opened her eyes and said,
What wakes me?
Tears, sweet princess,
Tears?
of love and compassion.
Am I well?
Completely. Love drives all poisons out.
And the queen?
She cannot harm you anymore, for I will protect you now. She will learn that love makes everyone the most beautiful of all, and she will give up jealousy and hate and wickedness.
Oh, I love you so, sweet prince.
And will you be my bride, Snow White?
Oh, I will. I will.
She will.
So the prince and Princess Snow White were married and lived happily ever after. And the 7 little dwarfs? Well, they made the most wonderful, generous, lovable godfathers you ever did see.